Alright guys, TacticalBit back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Friday so far. And today the London Home Series does kick off later today. Very interesting one. Florida Mutineers, Dallas Empire, New York Subliners, OpTic Gaming Los Angeles, Royal Ravens of course, Los Angeles Guerrillas, Seattle Surge and the Paris Legion all in attendance. Who will win the whole thing? Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Also to mention, this is your last chance to join the Draft Buff Draft Royale for this weekend. Prizes as came up on the Draft Buff app yesterday. Top 5 will receive the Tactical Grab like skin in game, and the winner will receive a jersey of their favourite CDL team. So get on that if you haven't done so already. Link will be down in the pinned comment below. First thing to talk about then is Pacman joining the Rise Nation. This was confirmed a couple of days ago. Earlier this season we saw Pacman released from OGLA. Kind of a surprising thing, like they got rid of him as coach. Like obviously the team wasn't doing so well, but definitely wasn't entirely Pacman's fault, right? He didn't join the team right when they were first constructing the roster. So interesting, and apparently they've got this OGLA trial guy who's been working on it behind the scenes. I think he's called like Stoop or something like that. Former Overwatch League guy, I think, that's now coaching the Call of Duty team, but haven't had any official announcement on that, so it's kind of an interesting one. But of course, Pacman was one of the originators with this Rise Nation brand back in the day, and he's now going to be joining once again as the general manager. So happy for Pacman getting an opportunity back in the esports industry after a couple of months out. Says exactly what they're planning to do. The interesting part of this, I suppose, is this final screenshot that I'll bring up on screen here of Pacman saying, "I'm back." And this is a question we had a while ago, right? Given Pacman's back in this team, Rise Nation had this like rebrand a few weeks ago now. Are they looking to get back in the Call of Duty League next season? I don't know if Activision are looking to expand. Of course, they're happy to accept people's money, but can they get 4 teams to expand to a 16-team league? Not exactly guaranteed, right? But it looks like maybe Rise Nation could be interested. The fact that they're bringing Pacman on, like Call of Duty history, Call of Duty backgrounds, could be some other teams interested as well. So who knows if Rise are going to make a bid for a CDL spot. We saw Heretics, of course, last season get turned down for some spot in Spain. Maybe that's an option that they explore as well, because certainly if they're adding on 4 new teams, probably one of them's going to be in Europe. So Heretics, if they're still interested, could be one. Rise Nation could be another one. Some people are looking at Pacman's t-shirt here and thinking, like Detroit, is that a possible option? I think this is like a screen or like the logo from MES Detroit 2015 or something back in the day. But yeah, certainly could be an option. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. This is what it looks like this weekend. London, Seattle, OGLA, Florida in one group. Paris, Dallas, New York, LAG. So, well, Group A is actually kind of stacked once again, and Group B should be relatively clear-cut, I think, as we will discuss right here. So this is the bracket I'm going to build. The link to this will be down as always for you guys to feast on this yourself. Let's start with Group A, Royal Ravens, Seattle Surge. Now, Ravens have had a really difficult time the last few weeks. Like, they lost an event, I believe they lost to Atlanta and Chicago. That was out of 1-1. Then the most recent one, of course, the New York home series, they lost to Chicago and New York Subliners. Both teams ended up in the grand final. So they've had a bit of a difficult run. And right here, they have a more manageable group. So I am going to predict them to make the most of it and get out of the group. I'm going to take them 3-1 over Seattle Surge. I definitely think that Seattle could have got slightly better. Like, they have Proto and Panda in their team now. They have had some time to practice. I think that they were scrimming recently the Dallas Empire. A couple of screenshots got leaked from that. I think Surge even put them in the 100-point club on one of the maps. So definitely Surge could be getting a little bit better. I don't think they're necessarily going to be good enough to beat the Royal Ravens, especially in this meta, which I do still feel favors the meta favors Ravens in this series to some degree with the 2 ARs, maybe even still 3 with this 10mm nerf. Who knows exactly what's going to be going on, but maybe that'll bring Dylan back to a little bit more form because he kind of had a lackluster New York home series, and maybe this 10mm will get him back to a level where well, he's competing with the best SMGs in the game. Then the other side of it is OGLA Mutineers, right? And we're seeing Mutineers finally back in action after several weeks out now. They are still reigning back-to-back champions in the online hemisphere. Now, they're playing OpTic Gaming, and supposedly, as Accuracy said in the clip we talked about in yesterday's video, well, the second uploader yesterday, he was saying that, look, OGLA are so much better with Hollow and Drazza. They're like 30 times the team they were before. So with that in mind, I think that OGLA have probably improved to some degree. However, against the Mutineers, and yes, maybe this meta change has possibly hurt them to some degree, but at the end of the day, they've won 2 events back to back. It's very difficult to pick against them, to be honest, at least to pick against them making a very deep run in this tournament. Once again, they're a nasty squad. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes they do start slow in tournaments. So I'm going to take him in a 3-2 against OGLA. I don't think it's going to be clear cut by any means, but I think if it does go to game 5, OGLA's Search and Destroy might not be quite up to par yet, given that they've recently added players. So I'm going to take Mutineers this one in a 3-1. Let's have a look at Group B. I think these matches are relatively clear-cut, right? I think Empire over Paris Legion, something like a 3-1 is pretty reasonable. Legion have proven they can take maps off decent teams, but, you know, can they get a series done against the Empire? I'm not really sure it's going to happen right now. So definitely take an Empire in a 3-1 here. Then Subliners Guerrillas. Like, Subliners are on a 9-map winning streak. They went 1-0 down to London, won 3 in a row, then won 3 in a row against Toronto, then won 3 in a row against Chicago to win the most recent home series. And I'm going to take them to extend that map lead to 12 maps, because Guerrillas obviously a solid team at times, but, you know, the last event they really were very lackluster, losing 3-0 to even Paris Legion at times, which is not a great result by any means. Typically, their Search and Destroy has been kind of solid, but against the New York Subliners, which looks very, very strong right now, I'm definitely going to say Guerrillas get smoked in this one. Going to take it in a 3-0, but, you know, Guerrillas sometimes can be a team that looks into series they lost and manages to bounce back. And that's what I'm going to take them to do when we look at the losers bracket in just a second here. Then we've got Royal Ravens Mutineers. You know, to me, it's just tough to predict against the Mutineers right now. So I'm going to take them in a 3-1 fashion here. I think this series goes something similar to what we saw against the Subliners when Royal Ravens win one of the map 1 and 2. But Mutineers are just so strong in the hard points and the domination especially that I think they definitely go up 2-1 and then close out the series one way or another. Then let's look at the other quarterfinal, Empire versus the Subliners. This is an interesting series for sure. Definitely think this could potentially go to a game 5, but I'm going to take Empire to lose this in a 3-1 fashion. I think Subliners are very, very strong. I was very impressed with them last weekend. I don't really think any team in the game, well, you know, some teams could have done it, but the fashion they beat Chicago in last weekend was a very, very rare one, and it seems to me that Subliners are definitely coming to form. Empire have now kind of locked in that top 4 spot. They can't go any further down in the rankings than top 4. They could go higher though, so definitely there's still some incentive for them to do very well, but I think the Subliners are just on a tear right now, and I haven't seen too much from Empire recently to expect them to be a dominant force once again. They definitely could make a deep run in this tournament for sure, but, you know, on recent form, I'm going to say the Subliners are the favourites in this one. Let's have a look at the losers bracket then. So Surge OpTic Gaming, based on what OGLA are looking like supposedly in scrims, I'm going to take them to beat Seattle Surge. Don't think that's too controversial right now in terms of how people are putting out their power rankings, but Surge definitely could do some sort of upset, right, with the AR meta. You know, Octane could be absolutely dominant, but, you know, maybe that meta's disappeared with the 10mm coming back. Then we've got Royal Ravens OGLA, and I'm going to take Royal Ravens to get the job done in 5. I think it's going to be a tight series for sure, but I have Royal Ravens slightly above OpTic right now in my power rankings. Unless OGLA can prove otherwise that this new Hollow and Drazzo edition is very, very good, I'm going to say the Royal Ravens are still my favourites for now in this series, and they're going to go on to the semi-finals. On the other side of things, I'm actually going to take Guerrillas to beat the Paris Legion here and get their revenge. I do feel like Bevels and Ricky definitely look really, really deep, and, you know, so does Josh to some degree, but the fact that they lost 3-0 last weekend definitely says to me that they'll go properly back to the drawing board here, and they will look into this group and, like, you know, come on, if you're Guerrillas in this group playing Subliners map 1, you're probably thinking we're going to go to losers against the Paris Legion, and when they do, if they do, I'm going to say that Guerrillas are going to, you know, come back strong in the Search and Destroy and win this one in a game 5 fashion. Definitely could be a close one. Obviously, Paris Legion could still win it as they did 3-0 last time out, but I think the Guerrillas, honestly, they had a bit of an off event. I kind of rated them a little bit higher, but that most recent New York Subliners event, they just got absolutely mollywopped, so I imagine they bounce back to some degree and at least win a series here, but by no means guaranteed. And then if they do face the Empire, I'm definitely taking the Empire to win this one in something like a 3-1. Then we get to our semi-finals. Mutineers, Empire, Subliners, Royal Ravens. Definitely a pretty stacked Final Four, given that we haven't got Atlanta FaZe and Chicago Huntsman in this one, but Mutineers, Empire is a pretty interesting matchup. This I just brought up is their most recent results. The Florida Mutineers, they've won many a series in a row right now, and, well, they beat the Dallas Empire 3-1 at the Paris home series, and then before that at Minnesota, they beat them at 3-2. So on form right now, I'm definitely going to say that Mutineers should be the stronger team, and I'm going to take them to win this in a 3-1 fashion. Definitely could be closer than this. Definitely could be a game 5. You know, they had a really, really close 5 on Ramazza the first time these two teams played, but it seems like Mutineers got even better from then, and I'm not so sure that the Dallas Empire are continuing to improve after their initial spurt when the online scene really initially came into effect. Then we've got the other semi-final, Subliners versus the Royal Ravens, and these teams played relatively recently. It was a 3-1 to the Subliners, so I'm going to stick with that and say it happens again. Feel bad for London not making a grand final, but honestly, they have a pretty tough run of things here, and even if they get out of the groups, that would be relatively impressive against, you know, definitely some bogey teams, and OpTic Gaming could be very good, obviously, given their entirely new squad. Who knows what's going to happen? Then we get to the grand finals, Mutineers versus Subliners. So this is an interesting one. Like, this is just the way I have it going. Of course, it could be very different indeed. But Mutineers are on back-to-back tournament victories, 8 series wins in a row, and Subliners come off the back of a pretty emphatic tournament victory, most recently at their own home series. Maybe they don't have quite the drive and the motivation at a different home series, but honestly, doesn't really seem to have affected too many teams so much so far this season, especially given we are now in the online arena. So look, I think this is going game 5, one way or another. I think that these teams are very closely matched right now, and well, they've both been very impressive as of late. So I'm not really sure which way to take this. I'm actually going to say Subliners clutch up and manage to do the job back to back. Definitely could go a different way. Maybe Empire could even make the grand finals or something incredible happens on OpTic Gaming win the whole thing. But on current form, I'm going to say that Mutineers and Subliners are pretty neck and neck, and I'm taking Subliners to clutch up in this game 5, as you know, they've definitely shown some S&D prowess as of late, and some of their guys have really turned things around and taken over the game. And if Attach and Zuma keep playing how they are, I think this is going to be a very, very difficult team to beat indeed. And if this does happen, very interesting storylines going into champs for sure. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks to Midnight for sponsoring today's video. Everything kicks off tonight at 6 PM my time in BST, 1 PM Eastern, 10 AM Pacific time. So yeah, Paris Legion, Dallas Empire, Royal Ravens, Seattle Surge, Subliners, Gorillas, OGLA, Florida Mutineers. And then on the Saturday, I believe it starts at basically the same time for 6 matches, or 6 matches on the day. And then of course we have the traditional 3 games to finish off the job on the championship Sunday. And after that, next weekend, we have another event in Toronto to finalize our seedings for the World Championship next month. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. On the verge of 25,000, not really on the verge, a couple of thousand away, but not too far. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.